as you know, in the Eastern Africa region, there are several issues why people fall perhaps a victim of the happenings, such as conflict or natural disasters. So these are the most important reasons why people are in refugee camps or in a makeshift camps across the region itself. The first one, the conflict situation, as you know, can be seen here in Ethiopia and in the northern part of it, more particularly in South Sudan, perhaps in Sudan too, and other countries like Kenya and others are also part of this bigger problem. Somalia is another important country to mention here because the conflict there has taken a long time, and people by the day are also falling victim, so that the refugee situation there is imminent at the same time, Maya. On the other hand, the most important thing that we need to understand is because the conflicts are taking too long, too much time, by the day people are always looking for hands of UN and other agencies to provide them with their daily subsistence, their daily food, so that they can survive. Insecurity has been significantly affecting this region for a long time, and it needs to be addressed as soon as possible. The natural disaster, which is mostly related with the environmental condition of the region, flood, drought and others are also contributing for this problem that we've been talking about. So millions are falling a victim, and the situation might be continuing in the next perhaps few years if things are not done properly by organizations, governments and others at the same time.
Right, and let's come to you, Ajek, for a look into the situation in West Africa. Nearly 1.5 million refugees were hosted in countries in the West and Central Africa region. That marks an increase of 134,900 compared to the end of 2020. Why are we seeing an increase in displacements in the region, and which countries would you say are most affected?
Well, Maya, according to the UN Refugee Agency, insecurity, violence and terrorism are some of the key drivers of displacement in countries like Nigeria, Cameroon and of course Chad. Nigeria, which is one of the worst affected, apart from the Boko Haram insurgency, which has displaced more than 2 million people, and many of them had to seek refuge in neighboring countries like Cameroon. We've seen rising cases of kidnappings and banditry and farmers-headers clashes. That has added the number of displaced people, and the UNHCR says that number is about 800,000. But apart from that, also the negative impacts of climate change has led to tensions in the Lake Chad Basin over resources like food and water. We've seen droughts happening in those areas. And apart from that, also the political instability and insecurity in countries like Burkina Faso that has led to the coup in that country, as well as in Mali, are some of the reasons that has led to displacement in those countries. And the UNHCR has said that these are the reasons why people are moving from one place to the other because of insecurity, violence, tension, to mention a few.
Right, and Girum, back to you. How is the region then dealing with displacement issues? And what would you say are experts saying would be solutions to problems which are causing displacements in the region?
So experts tell you a collaborative effort needs to be exerted in order to resolve some of the most important issues which are leading to the eviction of people and making them fall victim in their own countries in terms of IDPs, internally displaced persons, and also those who are cross-bordering so that they can find food and security at the same time. So this collaborative effort can be exerted, according to experts again, between continental and regional organizations such as the African Union and the UN agencies and others like IGAD and the Eastern Africa community in this region, in this region's context. And also governments, individual governments themselves need to find a way of stabilizing their nations in order to avoid conflicts. And also natural disasters can be avoided with this collaborative efforts, the scientific way of approaching it, and also some of the forecasts that are being done across the world in order to avert perhaps problems of of flood or drought can be done, so that these kinds of problems can be gradually be avoided in the future. But in general terms, time is of the essence, as you understand, and people are still suffering because of the problems that we've been mentioning. So the African Union, for instance, is urging individual member states to abide by the rule, to avoid instability, political crisis, and also other problems in their individual nations, so that this collaborative effort can help people live better lives than they are living at the moment.
Right, and Jack, finally coming back to you, insecurity in the Sahel specifically has been a major contributor in displacement in the region. How is the region then dealing with this and other causes that have contributed to displacements, and what would be solutions?
Well, for one, the Economic Community of West African States, as ECOWAS says, it is working with development organizations and governments in ensuring stability in conflicted areas in the region. It also says that it has set up a fund to help fragile states within the region. But outside that, we've seen political and economic sanctions being placed in countries like Mali and, of course, Burkina Faso, that is going through political transition at the moment. And in the just concluded extraordinary summit of the heads of states in Ghana, leaders agreed to keep those sanctions in place until their next summit in July. But outside that, in Nigeria, for example, we've seen President Muhammadu Buhari repeatedly ordering the military and security agencies in the country to ensure that it ends all forms of insecurity, be it Boko Haram, banditry, or farmers' herders clashes in the country. And it has has ordered the deployment of security forces in areas that have been affected by one form of insecurity or the other. But beyond all of this, our security experts have said that the root causes of insecurity in the country, like poverty and unemployment, needs to also be addressed hand in hand with the military firepower, because they believe that fighting insurgency and insecurity with just military firepower is not enough. And so the government has to ensure that unemployment, poverty, which is leading so many to pick up arms, needs to be addressed to discourage them from engaging in such crimes and criminality.